Part 1. The Shockwave of Cleansing. Crossroads of Twilight begins not with immediate confrontation, but with aftermath. The cleansing of Sidene at the end of Winter's heart sends a tremor through the entire world. Every man and woman capable of channeling feels it, a surge of power so immense that it eclipses anything experienced since the breaking of the world. For those who serve the light, it is confusion mixed with awe. For those aligned with the shadow, it is alarm. The novel unfolds across multiple perspectives, capturing this singular moment from various vantage points. In the rebel Aes Sedai camp outside Tar Valon, Egwene Alvere and her followers are shaken by the overwhelming eruption of Sidene and Sidar. The sky seems to pulse with invisible force. Aes Sedai stagger beneath the sensation. No one knows immediately what has occurred, but the magnitude signals something catastrophic or miraculous. Egwene, ever perceptive, recognizes that this event will alter the balance of power in ways not yet understood. Meanwhile, in the White Tower itself, Elida Aroyhan experiences the same shock. Her authority, already strained by paranoia and secret manipulation, is further destabilized. The tower remains fractured, with sisters suspicious of one another and the Black Aja still operating in secret. The massive channeling intensifies fears that the Dragon Reborn has unleashed some new horror. Elida, rigid in her worldview, assumes recklessness and danger rather than possibility. Across the Aerith Ocean's western shores, the Xianshan are equally disturbed. Demena collapse in confusion. Suldam struggle to interpret what their leashed channelers are sensing. For the Xianshan leadership, the surge confirms one truth. The Dragon Reborn remains an existential threat. If he commands such forces, he must be controlled or eliminated before he destabilizes the entire continent. For Randall Thor himself, however, the world has shifted in a far more intimate way. He tests Sidon cautiously, almost fearfully. The familiar slickness of corruption no longer coats the power. It flows clean and sharp, brilliant as winter sunlight. Though his mind still bears scars, lose. Theron's voice has not vanished. The constant pressure of the taint has eased. The relief is profound, though tempered by realism. The cleansing does not undo madness already present in men who have channeled for years. It does not erase the political chaos engulfing the nations. It does not end the shadow's schemes. It is a turning point, not a conclusion. Yet the world does not immediately erupt into celebration or transformation. Instead, Crossroads of Twilight lingers in reaction. The pattern tightens quietly. Armies reposition. Rulers reconsider allegiances. Every major faction stands at a crossroads, uncertain whether to advance, retreat, or wait. Winter deepens, unnatural and oppressive. The Dark One's touch lingers over the land. Crops fail, supplies dwindle, morale erodes. Even with Sidene cleansed, the struggle against the shadow remains overwhelming. The Dragon Reborn has performed a miracle, but miracles alone cannot feed armies or mend fractured alliances. Part 2. Perrin's Obsession and the Cost of Rescue. One of the most emotionally intense threads of Crossroads of Twilight centers on Perrin Ibera. His wife, Fele Basher, remains a captive of the Shido Aiel. Perrin's arc in this novel is marked by grim determination and moral compromise. Unlike Rand, whose struggles are cosmic, Perrin's focus is painfully personal. Fele's captivity among the Shido is harsh but not hopeless. She adapts, forging alliances among other captives and navigating the internal politics of the Shido clan. The Shido, led by Savannah, are fractured and unstable. Their ambitions are rooted less in prophecy and more in opportunism. Fail's intelligence and resilience become her greatest weapons. She gathers information, cultivates subtle loyalty, and searches constantly for opportunity. Perrin, meanwhile, wages a campaign of pursuit. He gathers forces from among disparate allies. Miners, Gyaldanin soldiers loyal to Queen Aliandra, and even Seanchan contingents. His willingness to negotiate with the Seanchan underscores his desperation. Once deeply suspicious of them, Perrin now views alliance as necessity rather than betrayal. The most striking transformation in Perrin during this section is his evolving relationship with violence and leadership. Traditionally reluctant to embrace command, he now wields authority with increasing firmness. His internal struggle centers on the fear that in becoming ruthless enough to save Fail, he may lose the gentler core of himself. His wolf brother abilities, his connection to the wolves and to the world of dreams, mirror this tension. The wolves represent instinct, loyalty, and primal clarity. Perrin must balance that instinct with human morality. In his dealings with the Seanchan, Perrin confronts uncomfortable truths. Their rigid hierarchy and enslavement of channelers repulse him, yet their military discipline is formidable. The bargain he strikes is pragmatic. Cooperation in exchange for assistance against the Shido. This alliance illustrates one of the novel's recurring themes: necessity forcing compromise. In a world teetering toward the last battle, ideological purity becomes a luxury few can afford. Fail's perspective provides crucial contrast. Her captivity is not passive endurance. She maneuvers constantly, cultivating trust among other prisoners and seeking leverage within Shido ranks. Her growing alliance with the Isle woman Roland adds complexity. Survival sometimes demands exploiting sympathy from unexpected quarters. The tension in Perrin's storyline is less about large-scale warfare and more about moral erosion. He contemplates increasingly harsh measures to force information from captives. The hammer and the axe, symbols of his identity, recur as internal metaphors. The axe represents violence, finality, destruction. The hammer represents creation, patience, deliberate shaping. Perrin fears becoming a man who reaches for the axe too readily. By the end of this section, Perrin has positioned his forces strategically, preparing for eventual confrontation with the Shido. The rescue has not yet occurred, but the pieces are moving into place. Perrin stands at his own crossroads, willing to sacrifice reputation and perhaps innocence for love. Part 3. Mat and Tuan, Marriage and Maneuvering. While Perrin wages a desperate campaign, Mat Cawthon navigates an entirely different battlefield, the intricate politics of the Seanchan court. Having married Tuan, the daughter of the Nine Moons, Mat occupies a paradoxical position. He is both her husband and her subordinate in Seanchan hierarchy. Their relationship is marked by sharp wit, cultural friction, and gradual mutual respect. Tuan remains deeply committed to Seanchan traditions, including the domain system. She does not perceive it as cruelty, but as order. Mat, who values personal freedom above nearly all else, struggles with this worldview. Yet he also recognizes Tuan's intelligence and strength. Their marriage is not romantic in conventional terms, but it is layered with potential. Mat's military acumen continues to shine. He evaluates Seanchan forces with a seasoned general's eye, noting strengths and vulnerabilities. His memories of past commanders grant him insight into tactics few living leaders possess. Yet Mat remains wary. The Seanchan are allies of convenience at best. Their long-term goals remain expansionist. The ripple effects of the cleansing of Sidon reach even into Shanshan territory. Domains sense the shift, though they do not fully understand it. The possibility that male channelers might no longer inevitably go mad challenges the foundational justification for Shanshan enslavement. Though Tuan does not openly reconsider her beliefs, the seeds of doubt are planted. Mat's internal conflict deepens. Prophecy binds him to Tuan, but affection grows slowly, rooted in shared resilience and mutual recognition of strength. Their dynamic reflects broader cultural negotiation. Can two radically different systems coexist without one dominating the other? Though Mat's storyline in this novel advances incrementally, its implications are significant. His position as Prince of the Ravens places him uniquely between the Dragon Reborn and the Seanchan Empire. Whether he becomes bridge or wedge remains uncertain. Part 4. Egwene's Gambit and the Siege Titans. Egwene Alvir's arc in Crossroads of Twilight is one of strategic patience. The rebel Aes Sedai camp outside Tar Valon remains locked in stalemate with Elida's tower. Yet beneath the surface, Egwene strengthens her authority in subtle but decisive ways. She understands that legitimacy is as powerful as force. By insisting on discipline and adherence to tower law, she reinforces the perception that the rebels are the true continuation of the White Tower. Her leadership style contrasts sharply with Elida's authoritarian rigidity. Egwene listens, observes, and nudges rather than commands outright. The Hall of the Tower, once inclined to treat her as a puppet, begins to recognize her resolve. The cleansing of Sidon adds urgency to Egwene's plans. If male channelers are no longer doomed, the White Tower's stance toward the Black Tower must eventually change. Egwene recognizes that unity will be essential before the last battle. A divided tower cannot effectively negotiate with the Dragon Reborn, much less confront the Shadow. She engineers bold maneuvers designed to destabilize Elida's authority from within. Information flows carefully. Alliances among Ijas are cultivated. Egwene positions herself not merely as rebel leader, but as inevitable Amarylin. Eventually, she allows herself to be captured by Elida's forces, a calculated risk intended to undermine the tower from inside its own walls. This act underscores her courage and long-term vision. Egwene chooses captivity as strategy, believing she can accomplish more within Tar Valon than outside it. Part 5. A world poised on the edge of decision. By the closing movement of Crossroads of Twilight, the world has not erupted into open transformation, despite the enormity of what has occurred. Instead, it stands suspended in a tense, almost unnatural stillness. The cleansing of Sidene has altered the metaphysical structure of the age, yet politically and militarily, the nations of the Westlands remain locked in caution, suspicion, and preparation. The sense that history has pivoted is unmistakable, but no one yet knows how far, or how fast, that pivot will carry them. Rand al'Thor himself is curiously distant during much of this final stretch, yet his absence only reinforces his gravity. Every ruler, every faction, every channeler measures their next move in relation to him. The knowledge that male channelers are no longer doomed to madness will inevitably transform the balance between the Black Tower and the White Tower, but that reckoning has not yet occurred. Instead, uncertainty reigns. Some Aes Sedai react with wary hope, others with fear that men free of the taint will become even more dangerous. Among the Ashaman, relief mingles with disbelief. Those already scarred by instability know they are not instantly healed. The taint's removal halts further corruption, but it does not rewind time. The Black Tower remains a volatile force, now strengthened rather than doomed. In Gayaldan and the surrounding territories, Perrin Ibarra continues tightening the noose around the Shido. His forces are positioned with care, and his alliance with the Seanshan, however distasteful, solidifies into practical cooperation. Perrin's transformation is nearly complete. The hesitant blacksmith who once shied from command now thinks in terms of supply lines, cavalry placements, and coordinated strikes. Yet beneath this competence lies an undercurrent of dread. He understands that once the rescue begins, blood will flow freely. He also understands that each compromise, each alliance with those he distrusts, each threat delivered to prisoners, edges him further from the man he once was. The crossroads before Perrin is not simply tactical, it is moral. He must decide what he is willing to become in order to reclaim what he loves. Fail's situation among the Shido likewise approaches a turning point. Her quiet resistance, her cultivation of influence among fellow captives, and her careful navigation of Savannah's volatile court have laid groundwork for escape or rescue. The Shido themselves grow increasingly unstable, divided by ambition and weakened by poor leadership. Though the decisive clash has not yet occurred, all signs indicate that their days as a cohesive threat are numbered. The tension rests not in whether confrontation will happen, but in how devastating it will be when it comes. Far to the west, Mat Cawthon consolidates his improbable position as husband to Tuon, daughter of the Nine Moons. His marriage, initially a tangle of prophecy, capture, and reluctant negotiation, has settled into something more nuanced. Tuon studies him with the same analytical intensity she applies to political rivals, and Mat studies Seanshan command structures with a general's instinctive skepticism. Their union symbolizes a potential bridge between worlds, yet that bridge remains fragile. The Seanshan Empire is not inclined to soften its doctrines overnight. Still, Mat's presence at Tuon's side introduces unpredictability into an otherwise rigid system. Should the Dragon Reborn and the Seanshan come into direct conflict again, Mat's divided loyalties will place him at the heart of the storm. Meanwhile, Egwene Alver's decision to allow herself to be captured reshapes the political landscape in ways that are only beginning to unfold. Within the White Tower, her imprisonment becomes an act of defiance rather than submission. She refuses to acknowledge Elyda's authority, even under punishment, embodying the dignity and discipline she believes the tower should represent. Her calm endurance begins to influence even those who once dismissed her as a puppet Amerlin. By placing herself at the center of Tar Valon, Egwene transforms the siege from external pressure into internal reckoning. The tower's divisions, long simmering, now face exposure. Winter itself continues as a silent antagonist. The unnatural cold grips the land with relentless severity. Crops wither, livestock perish, and refugees strain already fragile borders. The Dark One's touch remains heavy on the world despite the cleansing of Sidon. If anything, the prolonged winter underscores that the Shadow's strength has not diminished. The pattern may have shifted, but the last battle still approaches with inexorable certainty. What distinguishes the end of Crossroads of Twilight is its restraint. There is no singular climactic duel, no city-shattering confrontation. Instead, the novel closes with threads drawn taut across continents. Each major character stands at a literal and figurative intersection. Rand has altered the fate of male channelers, but has yet to consolidate the political ramifications. Perrin prepares to strike, knowing it will cost him. Mat navigates marriage and empire, aware that destiny coils around him. Egwene sits within the White Tower she intends to reunify, gambling that patience will triumph over tyranny. The crossroads of the title are therefore not a single place, but a state of being. The world pauses between miracle and consequence, between cleansing and confrontation. The wheel turns, and the characters, each in their own way, must choose which path to follow. What lies ahead promises not gradual adjustment, but acceleration. The stillness at the end of the novel feels less like peace, and more like the breath drawn before a plunge. The pattern has shifted. The river of Sidine runs clean. Yet the shadow remains. Winter endures, and the champions of the light stand, scattered across the map, poised to act. The next turning will not be quiet.
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos.